I've read both the EasyPeasy and the Freedom Model a few times, and today I'm going to give you a review of both and tell you exactly how you should read them so that you can also become free permanently. Now, before we get started, who am I? I'm Samir. I've been coaching people now for over 4 years. We helped hundreds of men become free from porn, masturbation, lust, fetishes, and so on. And I'll tell you that these two books were books that completely shifted my paradigm the first time I read them. So much so that I decided to read them a few more times. Now sure, at one point I was already free anyways, but the material presented in these books allowed me back then to coach my students using some of these principles found in these books, which I found valuable, adding them to my coaching. And also, if you didn't know, I used to struggle with this. Now I'm free. It's been a few years. So I want to really give you a full breakdown of the pros and cons of both of these books and let you know which one you should read and how you should read it. We'll start off with the EasyPeasy. I believe that the EasyPeasy is actually very simple to read. EasyPeasy basically went and took the work of Alan Carr, How to Stop Smoking, The Easy Way to Stop Smoking, which is a book that I get people still to this day come to me for my coaching and they said to me, yeah, back in the days I used to smoke and then I just read The Easy Way to Stop Smoking and I stopped smoking just pretty much effortlessly. And so we all know that the original book when it comes to smoking had tremendous success for the readers. But then when it comes to PMO, porn and masturbation, or more specifically porn itself, EasyPeasy I do not believe is the best book when it comes to quitting porn. But I'll tell you one thing that they say in this book, which I've seen actually help people become free forever. As you read the EasyPeasy, you go through different concepts like, for example, addiction, for example, debunking certain benefits that you get out of porn. They go through withdrawals and like what's going to happen. But towards the end of the book, the confidence, the assertiveness that the author has when it comes to the fact that you can actually leave this basically cold turkey right now just because you read this book allows people to actually really move on forever. I've seen it happen many times. But on the flip side, those that go cold turkey but slip just once, I'm just talking about once, think that something went wrong and that there's something flawed about them. Why is it that they couldn't just leave it behind? Is it because they're still addicted? Is it because of the monster, the little or the big monster inside of their brains, inside of their bodies that is still alive? And so this is both a good and a bad. On one side, it tells you, yes, you can leave this behind, even though you've been watching for years. And I actually like this because it makes you think that quitting porn is not like so hard that you just need to reduce it bit by bit, but instead that you can actually leave this behind because you don't need it anymore. But to have so much confidence and optimism just to be met with you going back to porn another time really shatters an individual depending on how they react to it. And now, of course, if someone thinks, oh, I just made a mistake and moves on and still has that intention of moving on forever permanently, I'm pretty sure in most cases is going to have a much higher probability of actually leaving this behavior behind sooner and also for a longer period of time or permanently. So if you read the EasyPeasy, go about reading this book to learn the material presented, to really get a different perspective that is not just some typical no-fap advice that tells you, okay, just go and take a cold shower. Okay, just go and do push-ups. Okay, just go and keep yourself busy. You'll get a better understanding of what porn is. Even though I do not really agree with some of the ideas presented in this book, I still think it can be beneficial for you to learn about these things. But please do not interpret your decision, because this is your decision. I'm gonna go a bit deeper into that when I talk about the freedom model. Do not interpret your decision to go back to porn after you've made a hard commitment to never go back again as evidence that there is something wrong with you, as proof that maybe you're just doomed. Maybe you're just so addicted that it's going to be so hard that you might as well give up. Please do not interpret it this way, and you'll see that freedom will just occur naturally. EasyPeasy also brings this phenomenal idea that we find both in the freedom model and EasyPeasy, which is about debunking the benefits. Now, EasyPeasy has a different perspective around that. They say that, okay, yeah, you watch porn because you feel stressed, but porn creates the stress in the first place. So if you don't want any stress, well, you just have to stop watching porn, which for some individuals really makes sense, and they get a very good reason to stop watching porn because they will remove that stress and instead maybe they will find more calm and so on. Now, when it comes to the cons of EasyPeasy, the main issue that I see is that some of the concepts presented can really limit you mentally. What do I mean by that? For example, to say that porn is like a drug addiction. Now, sure, you can say that people that watch porn have similar behaviors to those that consume drugs. Like they might, for example, really desire the substance. They might forsake opportunities, social events, and so many more important things for the sake of indulging in the things that they desire. But oftentimes we have such a negative view of drug addiction because we've been taught ever since we were young that someone who is addicted to drugs becomes homeless, becomes a deviant. We see them as people that are not like us, like they are weird essentially. And so to adopt that self-image of someone that is like a drug addict just because you watch porn, it can only be destructive. Yes, it can initially motivate you through fear, but again, fear and negative emotions or just external reasons and factors do not really motivate us in the long term, only in the short term, most oftentimes. EasyPeasy also brings this idea that you need to fight the little monster, that you have these desires, these urges that you need to fight off and that they will eventually go away, which is, yes, a good thing, but to say that it will be essentially a battle in the beginning, sure, can be actually interpreted in a good way, but for most people that come from a no-fap background, meaning that they learn from these people talking about the no-fap streets and how you're addicted and how your brain changed and how it's ruining your life, for them to fight off their desires is painful. It's something that's almost never ending. It's going a few weeks without porn and masturbation to then coming back and binging again. I've been there before. And also what I saw from the years of coaching people, that some people read EasyPeasy as if it was just going to save them. They read EasyPeasy and they do the same exact thing with the Freedom Model. They read it and think, okay, by the end of this book, I'll become free. Just as if they went through a surgery in order to heal themselves and think, okay, well, by the end of the surgery, I'll not be good. By the end of me taking this pill, I'll feel fine, or I'll cure this disease, or I'll cure my illness. But this is not how it works. You shouldn't go about reading a book with the expectation that, or just by reading the book, not even understanding the book, I shall be free, because these books that we're talking about here are more books that you need to understand the information and you really need to apply it. They're not telling you, for example, just build a routine and be busy and so on, which is easy to understand and apply, but they're telling you really challenge those beliefs, change the way that you think, which requires focus, concentration, and an ability to really understand the information that is presented to you. Now, the book, The Freedom Model. The Freedom Model has been such a good book that if you've watched some of my older videos about the courses on how to quit porn, you'll see a lot of the concepts that you find in the book of The Freedom Model presented in some of my videos. Look, I've read The Freedom Model, I've read many of the books from who they quote in their books themselves, like for example, The Meaning of Addiction by Stanton Peele, Love and Addiction by Stanton Peele, The Cult of Pharmacology by Richard DeGrandpre. There's Addiction is a Choice, there's Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. All of these books and the information presented in these books that are referenced in the Freedom Model will completely, and I'm saying completely, give you such a paradigm shift that you won't see things the same way anymore. The Freedom Model really reminds me of, you know, when, for example, you used to indulge in a specific habit all of your life for years, constantly, like it was basically an addiction. Like for me, for example, I used to play video games up to 16 hours a day. Sometimes I would play on average 6 to 12 hours a day, let's say, when I had the time. And I even started playing video games before I started watching porn. And I would be so good at video games, it would be the only way for me to express my confidence, as in real life I lacked confidence, I was bullied and so on. But yet, the moment I decided to change my life around, my values really changed, and I said, you know what, I want to improve myself, I want to pursue certain goals, I want to build something for myself, I want to completely changed my life. I left video games within a few weeks. Why was it so effortless? Why was it so easy? And the Freedom Model answers that question and says, this is why quitting porn, for example, even though they talk about drugs, alcohol, nicotine, and so on. But this is why quitting porn is so hard for you. It's because of all of these things that you believe about quitting porn that you didn't necessarily believe when it comes to quitting video games. The freedom model also answers the question that I had for all of these years. For example, I used to eat junk food. I used to eat McDonald's, the Big Mac, every time that I could get my hands on it. I would crave it. I wouldn't want to eat healthy. But the moment I started watching videos about why eating healthy is important for you and how it could change my life, because at that time I had acne and I wanted to get rid of my acne, so I decided to start eating healthy. I became passionate about eating healthy. I didn't even want to eat junk food anymore. I didn't even want for a single second. I was almost disgusted by it. I had basically no desires for junk food. But it's like, why doesn't this happen with PMO? And so the freedom model also brings this idea that completely shocked my mind. That if you watch porn, yes, okay, maybe for you, maybe for the individual, it is objectively based on the morality wrong, and it shouldn't be doing that. It's a sin. I felt the same way. But you're actually doing what you want to do. You're actually succeeding. You're not failing. And then you're like, wait, what do you mean I'm succeeding? And let's relate it back to NoFap and quitting porn. NoFap instilled this mindset. It's not even your faith oftentimes. It's NoFap instilled this mindset that it needs to be black and white. It needs to be all or nothing. It's either you watch no porn or you're just addicted. If you just watch it once, that means you're still within the bubble of those that are still addicted to it. And I'm not saying that someone should moderate, that someone should say, you know what, yeah, it's a sin. It goes against my morals, but I'm just going to do it whenever I want. No, I'm not saying that. I do not advocate for that. I'm actually against porn and masturbation, as it goes against my morals and values. But they say that you are succeeding because you wanted to do it for specific reasons, which you're not really honest with yourself about. You try to deny them because other people will disapprove of them, or at least you think so. For example, maybe you want to watch porn because you believe that watching porn is a way for you to experience some type of intimacy, and you really, really want intimacy because you want to feel love, you want to feel a sense of worthiness, you want to feel valued, and right now you really crave those things, and so you think, well, let me watch porn. And so now you start to see the real reasons why you want to watch porn, instead of blaming, oh, it's because of the triggers, oh, it's because of the addiction, oh, it's because of dopamine, oh, it's because of urges, oh, it's because of temptations, oh, it's because of this, and this and that. The freedom model tells you, put all of these things to the side, put all of these concepts to the side. Let's just be honest for a few minutes. Accept that you actually want to watch porn, that you actually like it, and then ask yourself, but why do I like it? Without judging yourself, being honest with yourself. And you're really going to get to the root of why do you desire to watch porn? Why do you desire to masturbate? And then suddenly, those things you've been denying for years, you can now look at them right in front of you. You can see, okay, I've been watching porn for this specific reason, but it doesn't even make sense anymore. But I was just like putting it down, and I didn't want to really admit to myself that I wanted to get that specific thing out of porn. But now that I have it in front of me, I can really rationalize and see, like, actually porn is not going to give me that. This is when the desire starts to go down and down and down, as you realize, okay, the reasons are not valid anymore. Yes, they were maybe valid back then, because back then when I was younger, when I was a kid, I believed those things. I didn't have the same information, I didn't have the same beliefs, I didn't have the same knowledge, values, or morals. But now I changed and it doesn't make sense anymore. And then the individual can also then rationalize on his own and think, okay, well, let's say I really want intimacy because I want a sense of worthiness, to feel valued. Where can I actually get that? Oh, maybe I can work more on my relationship with God because I really feel valued when I really pray, when I really obey God. Or maybe I can work on my business and really work as hard as possible and then stick to my word and everything. And this is where real change can really occur. And this is crucial because most people feel, and I do completely relate to that, but people feel like they're losing control over their own selves. But that's just a question of they're interpreting things the wrong way. And the freedom model clearly addresses that issue, where people say, I want to stop drinking, but I just lose control over my own desires. And the freedom model starts with evidence, examples where you would actually control yourself. If we give a PMO example, imagine you're in your bed and you're just PMOing. Suddenly someone walks in. Is it because porn is so like irresistible and so powerful and it has so much dopamine that it makes you lose control to the point where the person that walks in, you can't even stop and they just look at you jerking off until you finish? Like, we see that clearly it's not a question of like you literally lose control. It's more you really want to do it, and then you think you're losing control, or maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy where you say to yourself, oh no, I think I'm gonna lose control. Therefore, you allow yourself to feel like you're losing control. And also, someone can feel as if they can't really be blamed because they're losing control. Therefore, they can enjoy, for example, porn without getting as much shame as they are able to say, well, it's because I lost control. I didn't really want to do it, but it's because I lost control. And to really shatter that myth will change everything for you, because now you'll go from I'll fear that I'll lose control to taking complete ownership, complete accountability, and saying, look, I can't lose control. It was a myth. It was a lie that I was following. Now that I know that this is not an excuse that I can fall back on, what can I do? And this is, again, where real changes occur. And the freedom model gives this analogy that I am a huge fan of, because it really allows you to see why nofap doesn't work. They say, if you want to quit your job, right, do you ask other people, or do you search how to quit your job? Do you ask yourself that question? How can I quit my job? Like, what would be the answer? Well, you just leave your job. Like, you tell your boss, I'm gonna leave. Or you put your 2 weeks notice. And that's the most common question we get asked when it comes to quitting porn. How can I quit porn? How can I beat my urges? How can I finally leave this behind? But this is the wrong question to ask yourself. So they say, instead of saying, how do I quit my job? You need to ask yourself, do I want to quit my job? And if so, do I have a better option? It's not, how do I quit my job? It's, do I want to quit my job? And if so, do I have a better option? And this perfectly illustrates how people move on typically from behaviors. They don't focus on the how, they focus on the why, and they focus on what they want to do and what they could gain from leaving this behavior. And the other option, meaning, for example, okay, I want to quit porn because I really want to build this business, and I believe and I have evidence and I've really researched that if I quit porn, I'm going to be able to be more focused, I'm going to be able to be more productive, I'm going to be overall more successful in different areas of life. Therefore, I can get to success sooner. And maybe for me, success is to retire or help my parents. And therefore, if I quit porn, I'm going to be able to technically help my parents or retire them. And so you see how the value of quitting porn now is much more higher. But most people that join this nofap movement, they just say, how do I quit porn? They don't think, why do I want to quit porn? And if they actually ask themselves why, they often have the wrong answers. They'll say, well, because I'm addicted. Well, because it's ruining my life. But that's not the answers you're looking for. The answers you're looking for is, what could you gain? In a job setting, it's, can I have a better job? Why do I want to quit? Okay, I want to quit because I do not like this work environment. It's not paying me as well. I want instead to get a job that pays better, a job that has a better environment. You can do the same exact thing with porn. I know it sounds so simple that you feel like it won't even work, that you feel like you probably tried this before and that it doesn't work. But oftentimes, the things that are the most simple, the things that we feel like everyone already did, therefore it probably doesn't work, are the things that oftentimes we actually need to do. The last part of this formula is, do I have a better option? And this is a huge issue that I see, is because for a lot of people, let's say for example, they watch porn in order to get this substitute, let's say, for intimacy, because they really want to get intimacy. If they quit watching porn, they'll know, okay, I'll probably benefit my life overall, be a net positive, but I really want intimacy. They're really motivated to be maybe married and then get intimacy through their marriages, but they also have maybe a limiting belief, like, I don't think I'm worthy enough, I don't think I'm confident enough to really get with a woman, I don't think I'm attractive enough, I don't think that woman will want to be with me. And so that leaves them with no other option. Like, yes, you have the why to quit your job, you have the reasons to quit your job, okay, you want a better pay, you want this and that, but if you don't have any other jobs available, then you'll probably stay within your current job. And you can see how the same exact thing happens with PMO. Now, another thing that the freedom model does that I think is so good, because it really blew my mind when I first read that book, compared to EasyPeasy, the freedom model gives a plethora of evidence, proof, studies, history, which really helps in creating that internal conviction that, oh, look, there is evidence for that. Therefore, I can believe that. Therefore, I can change my mind. Imagine all of your life you just saw one side of the coin, and then you flip the coin and you see the other side. It's like, I didn't know that there was also this. And that really opens up your mind. And this is why I suggest that anyone watching this video goes to read the freedom model whenever they can, but really take the time to read it, because it is a book that requires understanding, and it's not just a book that you read fast and you'll be free just by reading over words. Obviously, it doesn't work that way, just like any other books, but the Freedom Model is a bit more advanced in the sense of I saw that those that were not the most advanced in, let's say, for example, English, I have a really hard time understanding the gist of the information that were presented. But overall, if you can understand this book, and English, for example, is your first or second language, for me it's my second language, my first language is French, you'll be able to really benefit a lot from it. When it comes to the cons of the Freedom Model, most of the cons have nothing to do with the books themselves. I do have personal critics, but most of the negatives comes with how people read it, how people approach this book, how people really read it, the expectations that they have. Like, for example, since the Freedom Model is obviously a secular book, meaning that morality is kind of like thrown to the side, to a certain extent at least. And they present things as that you don't feel shame just because of spiritual reasons, let's say, but because you think you should feel shame, because of specific reasons and things you've been taught. And that sometimes I see, especially for men of faith, as most of the people I coach are men of faith, kind of leads them down a path of over-philosophizing everything that they see by applying that specific models in every aspect of their lives, even going to the extreme of saying, okay, this new idea I just came across, does it fit with the Freedom Model, as if it was a book that came from God? And it's not to say that the authors did not do good work. Actually, they did a phenomenal work. But to base your morality or what is true based on that, I would say is something you should be cautious of. That yes, I see people go and really do that. And also another issue I've seen, especially with those that came to me for coaching, they will say that they often are in a state of overthinking everything. I mean, to the minus detail. I like to watch porn because at this specific time in the video, I like this specific part of the scene. Can I debunk this specific part? And we really go into the micro, which is not necessary, which is not something that needs to be done. It would actually be more negative. And the issue with this is the more time that you just spend like trying to debunk and constantly overthink, okay, why am I thinking this way? Okay, can I debunk this specific thing? And this can really prevent you from really experiencing life. Because as you're sat there just overthinking, okay, I need to really change my mindset, oftentimes it also becomes mental masturbation, where you think, I'll make some progress in my life by learning how to see things differently, and then I'll go for the things I want to go for, the things that are challenging, the things where I'll get the real, like, tangible rewards, let's say. But in reality, what happens is a lot of people, they just wait until the mind is almost perfect in order to not have to face the adversity, not have to face the challenges, the uncertainty, the fears. They say, no, I'm not gonna go and take that risk or go and get that job or do things that are outside of my comfort zone because I first need to really work on myself. And it's like, yes, 100% you need to work on yourself, but why don't you do both? Doing both will really, really be much better. Because I'm telling you, the moment you live life, you maybe get an opportunity to start a project that you've always been passionate about or curious about, and then you try it and then you love it so much, it's so meaningful to you that porn becomes like irrelevant in comparison and then gives you a completely different perspective. That is much better. That will be much better for you when it comes not just to quitting porn, but also when it comes to your life as a whole. Do not wait for like the light bulb moment where you're like, oh, now it all clicks and you wake up and suddenly you have no desire to PMO. You don't even want it. You feel disgusted by it. Because I'm telling you, you'll spend a lot of time, yes, changing your mind, yes, making progress mentally, but sometimes all that you need is just to go outside and do some actual lifestyle changes. If you're trapped in your room all day long and you believe there's no hope for you to really change your life, and so you just focus on quitting porn, changing your perception and beliefs in regards to porn, then you won't make as much progress compared to if you were to go out there and actually get outside of your comfort zone and live life and see that there's much more to life and see that there's actually possibilities, there's actually opportunities for you that can completely change your life around. That will be much better. But if you want to read either the EasyPeasy or the Freedom Model, I highly suggest the Freedom Model. Go ahead and search for the book online and read it. Do not rush it, but make sure to understand the information. If you want to learn how to quit masturbation forever, I have a full guide here. Click on this video and I'll see you then.